Hi, I'm Emma, founder and the CEO of CarbonClean Energy. To meet net zero by 2050, global brands like Apple and H&M are demanding their suppliers to cut at least 50% of emissions or switch to 100% renewables by 2030. Otherwise, the suppliers will be replaced. This has put intense pressure at high-emission sectors like oil, semiconductors, steel, and petrochemicals. They have spent trillions in cutting up to 20% of emission by reducing electricity usage. However, only this cannot achieve net zero, since over 80% of emissions directly come from the power generation and the industrial process. So, carbon capture is the only way to remove those direct emissions. However, the current only without utilization, captured CO2 will eventually release back to the atmosphere, just creating costs without adding any value. This is why carbon capture must be paired with carbon utilization, CCU, turning CO2 into valuable chemicals and fuels. And potentially, we can reduce up to 4 billion tons of CO2 emission together per year. However, the current utilization solutions are too energy intensive, expensive, and really hard to scale, and often costing over $50 million per site. This is where CarbonClean Energy comes in. We turn captured CO2 into valuable chemicals and fuels that can be reused across industries. For those high-emission sectors, we have built a CO2 electrolyzer that uses just CO2 and water. And with our exclusive catalyst, we can convert CO2 into valuable chemicals and fuels with very low carbon footprints, like syngas, ethylene, and ethanol. These chemicals are the key building blocks for daily feedstocks, plastics, and sustainable aviation fuels. Moreover, our electrolyzer can reduce over 60% of emission at an emission source. Take syngas, for example, we can replace 20% natural gas usage with 30% lower price and saving 50% at commercial scale. When combining with grid electricity, our electrolyzer can produce chemicals with negative carbon footprints. And our electrolyzer design is easily deployed and integrate with the current carbon capture setup. Currently, our business model combines direct system sale with recurring revenue from consumables and a replacement. Within 2 months, we have secured 3 pilot clients, including 2 top petrochemical companies, Changchun and LCY, and 1 steel company, Donghe. Also, we have partnered with the top Japanese wire and cable company for market expansion. Next, we are scaling up our system to 20 times the reaction area per catalyst layer, and with 20% lower energy usage. By 2026, we are aiming to meet 500 to 1,000 tons of CO2 conversion per unit. And by 2027, 5,000 tons of CO2 conversion per unit. That equals to 1,000 cars' annual emissions. By 2026, the Taiwan market is projected to be 200 billion, and then the global market will be 2.5 trillion with 30% annual growth rates. It's huge. Next, we are expanding globally, starting from Asia and Australia, and then moving on to the Europe and the US. We are aiming to meet 50 million revenue in 2027 and 200 million in 2029. We're a team from Stanford, US, and the UC Berkeley, advised by Professor Joe Egger, who is a global leader in CO2 electrolysis, and 2 industrial leaders. More importantly, we're backed by SparkLabs. Our CarbonClean Energy, we turn the emissions into more opportunities to create a sustainable future with CO2 transport, chemicals, and fuels. Join us in shaping the future. Thank you.